Hello everybody, Panzer King back here in the Lion's Den, bringing you the summary of 1942 for Operation Winter Solace. And a lot has happened this turn, or I should say the last two turns, and we'll quickly go over what has gone over, probably continent by continent. Not much has happened in the South American continent. Some influencing was tried, but obviously didn't happen. So basically that has been the norm. Russian submarine did some convoy raiding down here, but was quickly wiped out by the British Navy. Up here, Russian submarines have decided to join the war against the Allies and have spread out. Germans have entered their third happy time and now currently attacking the Caribbean supply lines. And as you can see right here, there's an attack already that will have to be resolved for the Germans when they start their turn. And of course, the Americans now have fortified the coastline right here. They brought ships because they're wondering about this darn Italian transport out here in the middle of Atlantic, where it's going to go. It was here in Sea Zone 46, but my own ignorance, I thought it was, if it was right by the sea zone, I didn't realize it was two sea zones. Then the Americans could attack without a declaration of war. So Jinx was kind enough to mention to me, and it is a gentleman's game, so he was very kind, and he mentioned that to me, so I did withdraw to Sea Zone 45. So that's currently where that sits. And of course, the RAF and the Canadians have slowly started building stuff up there in the Aerodrome of Democracy. The British fleet here has moved on into the Indian Ocean, is now just out here off the coast of Iran, and is helping to supply and fortify southern Iran. And you can see all the Free French units there, and all the planes and infantry, and the squadrons of fighters, and now heavy strap bombers. So quite a bit of investment here has been put into the defense of not only India, but Iran and the Middle East. So down here in Africa, not much has happened. The Free French fleet, of course, is here. But the Vichy, next turn, may start to go after them with their heavy cruiser and submarine and their destroyer up here in the port of Vichy. So we'll see how that happens. A jet fighter was unleashed to Mauritania. The Italians have completed 2 carriers and 2 battleships, so they have a sizable fighting force here in the Mediterranean. And we'll see where they decide to go and strike and attack. They might decide to leave the protection of the Mediterranean and maybe go on to other waters, as long as they don't do any combat moves out of the canal and or out of the Straits of Gibraltar. And of course here, the Mediterranean lake, as it were, is free of enemy ships currently. So right now, Gibraltar is being fortified with jet aircraft from both the Free French and the British Empire. But we have the Germans, which have last turn gone into Macedonia and attacked Greece, this whole sequence, and have actually gone in and taken Istanbul. So the Germans more than likely will probably head south into into the Peloponnese, and hopefully attack that next turn, and possibly go into Anatolia. Sorry about that, guys. I had a quick phone call. Anyways, so yeah, right now, who knows what the German forces are going to go, but they can move into Turkey, and they can also move into Greece, and even possibly take Crete next turn. The Italians are just peaceful, loving Italians, and they haven't provoked anybody yet, but who knows? In 43, that may all change. And just a brief summary here. The Japanese have taken Madagascar, the sneaky little Japanese, but of course the British came down and took that territory, or took that destroyer rather out. So now they are enjoying the sun in Madagascar. So we'll see what the British Navy has in store for that. Over here in India, they're constantly building up, but that CCP is coming towards India, so who knows? It's nice being the Axis and not having to worry about these two guys, and they're fighting amongst themselves. Everybody's kind of fighting amongst themselves. Well, except for the Axis and the Comintern. Right now, we have an understanding, to say at the lightest, because we want to take free territory. And of course, We don't have to take territory currently right now from ourselves, but maybe eventually we will. But that's a different story. In Sumatra, 3 fighters have been left there as a garrison to help defend the Money Islands, but they might have to be recalled to Japan because if we look up here, we have a ton of submarines that have made their way into the British or into the Chinese Sea there and the Philippine Sea. And they have caused a lot of issues for the Japanese economy and, of course, cut off the Japanese Navy from going home. However, if the Japanese Navy does take out this submarine, and if the kamikaze strikes, because they can do 2 this turn, as well as bring in 3 seaplanes, attack these submarines here, they might have a good chance in 43 to move up and defend the islands there as well, and might complete some more ships as well, but that's some luck of the dice. The Australians have put on some effort and built 2 fighters, and now Australia was, or Northern Australia was mostly occupied by the Japanese, but now currently at the end of 42 here, we have 1 lone Japanese infantry in Northern Australia. Enough to cause the Australians some grief, to focus on there and not anywhere else. But the Solomon Islands have been taken, the Mariana Islands have been taken. However, we have lost the Bonin Islands, and we've also lost the, I got to update that with infantry there, the Volcano Islands, as well as the Japanese did take Wake Island, but the Americans took it back. So, another thing to think about, those pesky Americans, and of course, all their fleet, the Enterprise and Hornets now are in the area off the coast of Japan. Maybe they'll bomb Tokyo, just like in the Doolittle raid, but we'll soon find out in 43. So, Japanese have not attacked, or the CCP have not attacked the troops in Hong Kong, the KMT and the Far East Command, and they reside there. But the CCP still have a sizable stack in China, and now a sizable air force too. Let's pray they don't head south and attack the poor defenseless Japanese. But right now they are a very powerful force to be reckoned with. It's very peaceful up in the Manchukuo state. And off the coast of Vladivostok there, not much is going on, thankfully. The Axis can use all the help they can get. But going back to Iran, look at that. Huge British force, huge Russian Air Force. 4 fighters, 3 tactical bombers, as well as a lot of Russian stuff that can hit that. But of course, the British can also bring a lot of forces in there too. So we'll see what the Russian commander Hilltop Pilplok has decided for that in 43, but that's currently what's been going on in 42, is a slow buildup into this area. But the British were sneaky, and they did take Northern Caucasia right there with an airborne, so now the Russians rather, will have to figure out what to do in there. The Free French slowly building up in Syria, and of course Kars is also fortified, but Anatolia has been left alone for the Germans to march in. So that covers pretty much the southern part of the map. Really all we have to do is briefly look on Europe now. And Europe, Scandinavia has been relatively peaceful. Same with the Eastern Front. Build-up of troops and infantry, but still relatively peaceful. But over here, as you can see, England, from Scotland to North England to the British Midlands to London, anti-aircraft guns, infantry, men, huge military buildup. And the Germans see this as a threat. So the German Air Force may decide, along with the German Marines and Airborne, might decide to do an attack on London next turn. We'll see how that goes, but currently right now we do see London as a threat, and now that American troops have landed on the British Midlands, which was a direct violation of what the Germans and the British have talked about. So now all gloves are off. We might see an attack on London sooner rather than later, and even if it's not from the Germans, it may be from the Soviets. Who knows? I cannot speak for the Soviets, but we'll see what happens in the rest of Europe, what the Germans have planned in 43, but it has been exciting times, and of course what's going to happen here in the Middle East. and everywhere else in the Pacific. If the Japanese Empire is successful with completing its navy, it might see the Shinano being built in 43. And a few other things. They did take $10 off us this turn in 42, or in the latter part of 42. So consequently, we'll have to see where our future lies. But this is kind of the current state of the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the whole rest of these continents in between those two great oceans. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Quick summary of what everything has been happening and where everything has been going, what has been being built, what actions have been taken. And right now, thankfully, the Russians are helping us, but that may change really soon. So we'll have to see what happens. And if the Soviets start to backstab the Third Reich. You may also notice too, I've started putting the new Russian color infantry units on here. So they're going to be that green color. I've glossed them. I do like the gloss look, and I think it's going to look better than these maroon colored units. So of course, that means a lot of things are going to have to be repainted. Hopefully not the planes though. So, but yeah, quick summary guys for you. Panzer King here in the Lion's Den. I will see you again for the next summary for 43, probably in 2 turns from now. But next video I'll be putting up will be the German turn, 14.1. We'll see where Germany has planned and what has its eyes on in the next sequence of events. So we'll see you guys later. You guys all stay classy.